The alternating cable bind off is a bind off to match the alternating cable cast on. Both edges will give you this nice rounded edge that is similar to the tubular cast on and sewn bind off. It's different in that it doesn't actually create a tube, but it does wrap the stitch over to give you a really nice aesthetic with a lot less fiddling than the tubular cast on and sewn bind off. So here I have a column of knit stitches and a column of purl stitches in a 1x1 rib. And to do the bind off, what we're going to do is we're going to purl the knits and knit the purls. The biggest thing you need to remember that doesn't come naturally is how you're going to move the yarn in between those stitches. So when we're knitting, we move in this channel between the needles. But when we're doing this bind off, we need to move behind the needle and behind the stitch. And I'm going to show you both how that is done, as well as a little trick that I probably unvented, since we all know everything in knitting has probably been done before, whether or not you've seen it. But it is something that, as I was sorting out the most efficient and the most efficient way, as well as the way to have the most consistent tension and flow, something that I hadn't seen anywhere else, and I did decide to share with you. So for the first stitch, nothing will be different. It is a knit stitch, and I will just move the yarn to the front between the needles to purl it, because remember, we're purling our knits and knitting our purls. So nothing is different here. I am going to purl this knit stitch and leave it on my right hand needle. Now I have a purl stitch that I need to knit. So remember what I told you, this yarn cannot go back between the needles, because that is not how you'll get the aesthetic for this edge. It needs to go behind the needle. Now, if you're using DPNs or flexi flips or 2 circulars, if you're using anything where you can move this yarn around, you don't have a problem. It's just a really long path and not necessarily easy to get consistent tension, because you're taking the working yarn all the way, I'm kind of exaggerating here, but all the way around the back to get it in position to knit. Now, like I said, with any of those others, you're okay, but with a circular needle doing magic loop, you've got a problem here, because you've now trapped the cable in there, and that's not what you want. If you do decide you like this long path, you can work magic loop and use an additional needle, a third needle, to do the bind off. But I'm going to show you a way you don't need that third needle, and you may find you like the flow better, and you may find you get more consistent tension. So I need to get this yarn around. What I can do is take the stitch I just bound off that is on my right hand needle, and I can temporarily slip it back purlwise to my left hand needle to just hold it for a second while I move the yarn. And then I slip it back. It has a little bit of a feel like a wrap and turn if you do wrap and turn short rows. Now my yarn's in the proper position to knit. It's in the back of my work. And it's a purl stitch presenting, so I will be knitting it. And now, as with many bind offs, I have 2 stitches on my right hand needle, and I'm going to pass the first stitch over the second stitch to bind it off. So that is a very familiar motion. Now here I am. I need this yarn once again to get to the front of my work and not go through this channel to go around. Take the right hand needle with the stitch on it, slip it to the left hand needle, move the yarn, slip it back, it's now in position, purl. Bind off by passing the first stitch over the second stitch. and now once again. You're going to keep repeating that motion. Couple of things to show you here. One, if you're using a woolly wool, you don't even actually have to slip it if you're comfortable. You can simply slip your needle out, move your yarn, slip your needle back in. Now, I don't know if you're really saving any time there, but whatever motion works for you is the one to use. So I'm in position, I'm going to knit that stitch, bind it off. It's time to purl, slip it out, move the yarn, slip it in, and purl. And I said if you're using a woolly wool, primarily because if you're using a slippery wool, if you're using a silk, if you're using a superwash, you might be afraid of just leaving this. Whereas when you're using a woolly wool, it's not going anywhere unless you pull it out. So a lot of things do depend on your fiber. Now, again, I need to knit, so I'm gonna go around. For the sake of demonstration, I'll show you again, slipping it back. And if you watch for a second, what you'll see is that I can really get into a flow with this. It doesn't have to feel so awkward like every time it's this tedious movement. Watch the flow without words. Okay, so now if you look as we go, what we have is a nice rounded edge for the bind off as well. Now you may also see this done by knitting through the back loop. I have tried both. I think a lot of times, as with anything, it depends on the individual knitter, it depends on the fiber that you're using. So another option is to knit through the back loop, but otherwise do this the same. So you passed it in the back. Now instead of knitting through the front loop, I'm going to knit through the back loop. And I'm going to pass it over. Do it here with no change to the purl, just purling through the front loop. Knitting through the back loop. As with many things in knitting, see what works best for you. See what your personal preference is. You might like how that looks better at the top when you're knitting through the back loop. It's really up to you. You can practice, you can try both, and just see what you prefer. But in the end, you have this really nice cast on and bind off that creates a very nice edge, and as I said, is a little bit less fiddly than the tubular.